drive home, Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. I had to end the first part a little early because I got a phone call from work. Now, I'm going to call that guy.
Chris.
Hi, you're on the air.
I am.
You are. You're being recorded.
Hi there.
This time I was more clever about it. I hooked up the other phone to my car so we could actually hear you.
Hello, me. Hi, Chris. How are you, man?
Good. How have you been?
Oh, I'm just doing stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Working and stuff.
Oh, boy. That sounds exciting. I have a question for you. You say that sometimes my videos show up in your feed as things that you might watch. Do you get the videos from both channels?
I got the one with ducks in it. You had one with ducks recently.
I think
that's all I saw. It didn't. It's not showing me. It's not showing me you anymore.
Okay. Good
but
time.
It was showing me from one feed. It showed me the ducks one, which is, I'm assuming that's your main one, right?
I don't remember. I think I have ducks. I have ducks on both of them now.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, I can't remember which ones I posted where, but I know there's ducks on both channels now. Like yesterday, I did a horizontal and then a widescreen of the ducks in the backyard. The new ducks. I told you I got new ducks, right?
Even newer ducks?
Like I have 7 ducks now. I got the 3 plus I bought 4 more recently.
Wow, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we have the 3 Muscovies. We also have now a pekin, which is a very large duck, and 3 black ones, and I can't remember what they're called. We don't know if they're males or females yet. My wife just wanted ducks one day.
Oh, she wanted more ducks?
Yeah, we didn't just stumble across them. It was a conscious decision to go out and buy them. I mean, it's like just from a like let's say if we were buying them strictly for meat, it is unbelievable how quickly they grow. So we bought them; they were a day or two old, and they were like little puff balls. Like you could literally hold these ducks in your hand. They are now, like this is just a couple of weeks later, they're the size of ducks. Like they're the size of full-grown ducks. It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
They double in size like every day. Like if you sit there and watch them, you watch them getting bigger. It is crazy how quickly they grow. I'll show you some before and afters. Like here they are brand new. Here they are a week later. It's
really, they grow almost adult size in a couple of weeks.
It's insane. You gotta see it to believe it.
Time lapse it.
I know. I will next time. I didn't realize they grew so fast.
I'm sure someone had to have made this recording somewhere.
Yeah.
Of duck growth.
I would have to imagine someone did, because it seems like an obvious place to go. Like the first time you see it happen, it's like, oh, I got to record that, because that's just nuts.
I'm supposed to be working, so since I let people talk to me, I'm bouncing all over the place. Now, like if I called you at work, you would actually, I don't know if your fans know this, but you would actually not be able to really talk to me long.
I would not.
Go.
No.
I run. It's a very important ball bearing plant here. I'm going to get fired. We're making really important round objects. It requires all of my time and concentration.
That's exactly how I say it too.
But yet I just say, "Hey, Chris, sure, you can call me." Matter of fact, put me on a podcast, no problem.
I will let you get back to what you're doing.
No. I'm not done insulting you yet.
Oh, okay.
Then prior to that, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to insult you. Prior to that, my son was talking to me about D&D because I put my desk. I'm like working in the living room because I actually want to be interrupted. So I put my desk here and I encourage it. So he was asking me about Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I know you played. I don't know if your viewers know you've played Dungeons and Dragons quite a bit. You're from the old age, from first edition.
Yes.
Do your fans know this?
I think I've explained. I've talked about D&D. I mean, like I make like 7 videos a day, so it had to come up at some point.
What about does your daughter know? Does your daughter show any interest?
No, I've actually I've jonesed so bad lately. I like over the years I've tried to get her interested in it, and there isn't a lot. I'm not making a lot of progress. I'm thinking I'm going to have to go like behind her back and get her friends interested in it, and then suck her in that way.
It might work if you started watching like Critical Role or one of the really popular D&D channels. There's like super popular, millions of subscribers watching people play D&D.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen Critical Role. Oh yeah, so it's a big thing now. So you shouldn't have to convince her. She should be trying to ask you. She should be knocking on the door saying, "Dad, where are the books? Do you have a player's handbook?" Because I'm telling you, it's out there now. Like a lot of people are interested in it. It's way more mainstream now. We never recorded ourselves playing. It would have been really funny. Can you imagine recording your old D&D sessions?
Oh my God.
But actually in high quality though, not like with the technology we had back then, it would have been really bad. The sound would have been bad. It would just,
right.
It just would have been but with actual mics and everything. So they do this. It's actually pretty cool. But yeah, you would have had all documented. And they actually took. So you said you haven't heard about this? You're not messing with me?
No, I know of those kinds of things. I haven't seen any.
Yeah, Critical Role is one if you want to check out one.
Okay.
And that's probably the most popular one. And they have their group. I might be messing this up, but for the viewership that's listening that wants to correct and complain in your thing, even though it's just me, they're eventually if this does get out, they're like, wait, this guy's completely wrong. I'm pretty sure they made a group called Vox Machina, and then actually that got their group, their Dungeons and Dragons adventure group name was that, I believe.
Are you saying Vox or Box?
Turned that into Amazon turned it into a series. So they actually have a cartoon series based on that D&D group from Critical Role.
Gotcha. Are you saying Vox Machina or Vox? B or V?
V-O-X. V is in Victor.
Oh, okay.
O-X. Yeah. And if you look up on Amazon, you'll see that, and that's what it is. It's actually it's like I don't know whether they took their actual sessions and then just turned them into a series, or it's like a fresh new series, but it was a neat idea because they have voiceover actors playing the characters. So I don't know if all of them are or just some of them are. So they would do the voices for their characters. And the DM is also a voiceover guy. So he'll do voices for guys as he's talking to, which makes it interesting.
Cool.
At any rate, I'm not sure why I brought that up. I think we'll bring it up to try to help you to try to get your daughter, who shall remain nameless, to be more interested. But anyway, so my son's interested. We were looking into stuff, but I don't think you have any of the most recent books, do you?
Yeah, I bought the most recent set recently. Within the past year, I guess.
Just the DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual?
That's it. Just that box set, yeah.
Do you have any interest in collecting the full collection? Because I know you're a collector bug when it comes to D&D stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? Like all the modules and things?
Because obviously you already told me what you have, but I was looking for a very specific race that only appears. I'm not even sure what book it is. That's what I was working when you called me. I'm like, I let myself jump. I'm like, hey, well, let me help you with your character. Okay, cool. Let's talk about it for while I work, but let me help you look at it so you can read it, and then you try to find it online because you can Google almost anything. And so I was trying to find and see if they had any kind of information on what book the turtle would be in, so I knew what book to buy.
What's the turtle?
Maybe someone like made a screen capture of it or something somewhere. The turtle is a tortoise humanoid, of course. But yeah, I can't find anything. I couldn't find anything online. There's something called the turtle package. It looks like D&D Beyond, though. But you never know when you're looking at something that's been faked. It's a really good faking things. So, but yeah. Anyhow, that's what I was doing. I was looking to see if I found anything on the race because I thought, well, this would be something for me. You can sit and read about his race because when you're a player, it's a totally different world than when you're DMing. The players, in my opinion, because I was playing it recently with Tom. You remember Tom Anderson?
Yeah.
His son Max
from
is
The Matrix, right?
Oh yeah, and him. Remember he sorry Tom if this gets out to the public, like, oh yeah, Tom Anderson. Anyway, I forgot we're not supposed to name people. I'm actually being wanting to put on the internet, but whatever.
It's a really common name. He'll never figure out which Tom Anderson.
He has a son, a full grown son who plays it, and he really gets into it. He wants to be a voiceover actor, and he was and he's a really good player. And he actually got into him and I had played a couple times together, but really getting into the character. Like the character is like he can spend a lot of time, writes backstories for them, and gets into an extensive backstory on this guy. So when it comes time to play it, they're really excited. I don't know if Cassie gets into that, but the more and more you help them guide and create this character, that seems to be kind of alluring too. Besides the combat and the spells and all that kind of stuff, but having this character that's really fleshed out really helps. And I think what I've learned from my experimentation, especially with younger people, is sitting down to roll up a character is really boring. Like that's really kind of messes it up for them. You'd have to use your DM magic to make it like really easy, and just kind of fudge that stuff later. All the details,
right?
Your attributes and how
but
each thing works.
You kind of
there,
don't you really
spell book works. Yeah,
you kind of need that stuff up front though, so that you can decide what you're going to be. Like, don't you?
I know, but even that seems like way too much. It seems like you try to say something. All right, well, go ahead, look through the races and see which one you like, and it's like 50 pages. You're like, really?
Oh, yeah.
50 pages.
I can see what you're doing there. Like, yeah, you definitely have to have, like, maybe some cliff notes that you can just rattle off and say, like, these are the pros and cons of these different races.
Yes, and then remember, the role character took an entire evening to make your character.
No,
the first session was just... So that's a shame, because if you're not already interested, your introduction to the game is sitting for...
a bunch of administrative work, yeah.
A character that you don't understand.
Yeah. Let's play a game. It's essentially like doing taxes all night.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then you think, wow, I didn't realize that this seemed like this from the outside. But, you'd have to have people who are already, I don't know, I guess we were crazy enough that and our lives are boring enough. There was no devices that you could mess around with. There was no, video games weren't that great. So it didn't, and I don't know, maybe there's something to that back then when we first started all this, it was okay to sit and do nothing, to just hanging out with a bunch of guys you didn't mind bullshitting with,
right?
Just kind of joking around.
Yeah, I mean, I think
don't care what you're doing.
You make a really good point there. Back then, like we were craving some kind of structure, like something to do. Like right now, it's kind of the opposite way. Exactly what you said. Like everybody has devices now, and like you can stream audiobooks, or you can like go on Facebook or Twitter or play a game and things like that. You're right. Back then, we didn't have that. So like I used to play like games like Midway and 1948, like. Strategy games by myself until I stumbled across D&D, and then that became an obsession for a while. For the rest of my life.
But my sons, they'll play what they call imagination games, where there's no structure to it almost. It's just you're talking and you're okay. Pick a character and you play this guy, and this is what happens. This guy talks to you and he says this, and then this happens, and what do you do? And it's just there's no dice. It's just this guy, and they will do that for hours. And I think, wow, like if I don't know where that came from. Like I didn't teach them to do that. It was just like, and you start thinking like, wow, I wonder if this is like a thing. Like I never seen it growing up. I don't remember playing what the equivalent of those imagination games, but that's exactly what role playing is, just with structure.
Right.
It's actually what it should be, because we actually have the battle map feature, which I noticed you guys didn't really use that much when I was in your sessions, where there's a map with figures on it, and there's distances and rounds, and everything's broken down into turn-based combat. Like this guy takes a turn, and everything's like you're almost how the video games do it, where you get a movement phase, or you get your movement, you have action points, actions you can use.
Yeah, actually, it had been mentioned a couple of times. Like I unfortunately lean really heavily on the story and keep forgetting that it's a battle-based game. So we've had entire like long sessions where there was no real battling, like setting up behind rocks and like shooting arrows and fighting enemies like it. But there was like a lot of interactive things where you had to navigate personalities and get through all this stuff. Like, so, like, it was sometimes some sessions we'd be like, wow, like like how do I like, they did a lot of great stuff, but there were no battles, so you got to figure out how to distribute.
Yeah, I mean, you must have been really good at that to be able to pull that off with a bunch of adults.
Yeah.
To have them all interacting without any combat was kind of what glued us together in our group. Like, everyone was into that part of the game. But it's funny, like, when I started playing with my son, it's like they almost look at you like, do I have to fight? Like, that was like, the fighting seemed like, well, that's how you get experience. I remember that first conversation about it, like, do I have to fight, guys? I'm like, well, that's how you get experience points. And he's like, oh, and you think, wow, that's weird. Like, I never really thought about it that way. But there's that you can actually play. You could play regularly all the time without any combat if you structured it that way.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily have combat night, but my mind couldn't wrap around how to play like that. Because that's not how I played. Like, how would you play without combat? Like, what would you do? You'd have to have a lot of dialogue.
Right.
Wow.
And fortunately, I'm a very chatty guy. I'm a chatty guy. Yeah, it became difficult. I mean, like, especially when, like, my group had a tendency to break up, which was a pain in the neck, because that now there's, like, there's information they're not supposed to know. So sometimes I would just, like, send people out of the room, because even if you're trying to be honest, it's very hard to not know something in the game once
we called that PC knowledge.
Yeah,
we had our bad name for that.
Yeah.
Was PC knowledge.
I couldn't think of that. I remember you saying that before, but yeah, that's...
Yeah, I don't know. We came up with that. I think we actually heard of that. That's actually might be a term. Maybe if one of the audience members can... I'll make pretend we have an audience. Maybe one of the audience members can write in.
It's you. You're the audience.
I know. Well, that's going to be someone else. Maybe I'll look into it.
You're giving yourself tasks.
But yeah, we would always say that. We'd say that's PC knowledge. You can't react to that.
Right.
Like, even if you've heard it, you can't. You'd have to flag them, and the other players would kind of flag you too. But there's also that flagging of, I don't know what you would call it, but real life knowledge. Like, yeah, you know that, but your character wouldn't.
Right.
You ever call your players on that? Like, yeah, you as Chris Soriani would know that, but your character doesn't have that kind of a backstory. You would have no idea.
Right. I have issues with that. Like, I let, like, even though there's magic and things like that, I let...
You have an 18 intelligence in real life, but if you're playing a character with a 10 intelligence, it'd be a little different.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, there's, like, Dave DM'd a couple of sessions, and I kind of like what he did, but I do it differently. Like, I allow the physics, other than magic and all the other stuff, the actual physics of the universe, they behave just like regular physics. Except for rooms and square grids. I love getting confused by the fact that you can go diagonally across the room in the exact same amount of time it takes to go straight across the room. I make jokes about that endlessly.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris. Did you use XP? Did you guys do? Was there a leveling process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there were battles.
Did you do I think you did probably milestone XP then, right? Did you do, like, okay, they get to a certain part, I'm just going to give them, I'm going to let everybody level.
Yeah.
Was it like that?
Yeah, well, like, it was a Chronos adventure, so we never broke. Like, that adventure went on for over a year and a half. So they would accumulate, like, at the end of every evening, there would be experience points divvied up. They wouldn't necessarily be able to level until they got to a place in the game where they actually decided to take a few days off for the adventure, practice their skills and things like that. So they could exceed.
I'm pretty sure guys that what's the name on the Critical Role do milestone. You've heard of milestone? You just reach a certain part and you level. Like, it's there's no real XP. Like, you say, well, if you get to this part, so all that, how you did in combat didn't matter as much. Just getting to this part was getting to this milestone would level you.
But that's, I mean, you could be with the party, do absolutely nothing, but as long as you made it there, you're leveling up. I don't like that.
Right. So I don't know. I always had a hard time with that too. Like, say, all right, well then, I also had how do you give XP for talking? I'm like, all right, well, because not everybody's a good talker at the table. Some people have lots of ideas, and like you said, they break off. Okay, like a rogue breaks off and starts trying to rob somebody's house. Okay, well now you got to run all that, and everybody's got to sit around and listen to him, and then he makes all kinds of XP, right, from doing all his rogue stuff, and they all made 0.
Right.
So you're like, okay, they beat zero. Their evening got wasted listening to him go and do his rogue stuff. And you think, well, that's not cool.
Right.
So there's got to be some kind of balance to it, too, where one person's got a lot to say and sort of talks over everybody. And then you got players they're just not talkers. They just want to play the game.
So
they're happy with sitting down, eating their snacks, and rolling every once in a while.
The way I would handle that sometimes is so we'd have a group, like I said, mine was very dialogue based. It was like very story driven. I needed to keep the story moving. So when you were interacting with the mayor or a chancellor or something like that as a group, obviously if there's one main talker, that person is going to get the bulk of the experience. But if the other players are there, they experience that, they learn things, so they can share in a percentage of the experience, because even though they weren't the ones physically doing it, they were exposed to that. And it is kind of, if they're paying attention, it's a learning process. You don't necessarily have to be the one doing it to basically pick up new skills. It's like, oh, I like the way he argued that, I'm going to try to remember that for the next time I do something. They may never ever be a good speaker in the game, but if they're part of the group that's doing a thing, they can get splash experience, just like splash damage.
I guess, that's a way to view it. I guess it would work. Can you learn referentially? It's almost like saying if you're part of a business while the business was being built.
That's why people look up on YouTube how to do things.
You don't really know how to build a business, but you did gain some experience by being exposed to it.
Right.
I know for game purposes, I think that's great. But I think real life crossover, it's not exactly work. Doesn't of course work like that. But
think about the YouTube effect. If you don't know how to do something, but you need to fix something, you look it up on YouTube, and now you know how to do it.
Well, you have to actually attempt it. You might know how to do it, but you don't get wet from the word water. So you have to actually try to accomplish it. So I would say maybe, I don't know. I don't like getting too realistic with it, because then it just it gums up the works. Right. Because honestly, D&D was. I always go back to that because it's supposed to be fun. It's a game.
Hold on one second.
It's supposed to be fun, and a lot of people don't get that. They get too serious about it.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I just crossed the 22-minute mark. I want to stop this and restart it. Have a wonderful day, guys. Be back for part 3.